Good day, everybody, and welcome to today's episode on the Malaysian property investment series. And today we're going to talk about a topic that came out in today's news, which is the Johor government announced that they intend to submit plans for a new LRT track in Johor Bahru. So there is some plan now to build this LRT track within Johor Bahru itself. This is a question that we get quite a fair bit because a lot of people ask, hey, how come the MRT from Singapore to JB, does it only stop within JB City Centre itself? Does this MRT going to extend or go to other parts of JB, right? And actually for a long time, we didn't have an answer to that, or the answer was not clear. So currently it seems that the Johor government has a direction, which is to build an LRT track within Johor Bahru, and of course this requires approval from the federal government. So let's go through this article in detail and see what it's all about. So basically here, as you can see in the article, basically the Johor government, they have three lines in plan. One is the Tebrau line, one is the Skudai line, and one is the Iskandar Putri line. Later, I will show you how these lines look like. I'm sure this is something of interest, where the lines go exactly. Actually, we have a rough idea where these lines will go, how the track will be. And it also mentions that the track will stretch all the way to Senai International Airport, which I also show later. The other part of the article also mentions the high-speed rail, which is currently in discussion at the federal government level. So we know from the news that the federal government intends to bring back the high-speed rail between Singapore and Malaysia. This proposal will have to be confirmed how they want to do it in Malaysia first before they submit over to Singapore, which I believe will be sometime next year, because we saw the tenders for it supposed to end sometime in January. All the requests for proposals by the various private companies. Basically, the idea that Malaysia want to do it now is that the Malaysia wants it to be privately funded by private companies rather than the cost borne by the Malaysian government. So I think in return, there'll be some kind of arrangement there where the cost will be borne by private, of course not borne by the government. So I think we will hear more about high-speed rail next year. One thing I want to talk about, which is also for the benefit of viewers of this video, is that LRT in Malaysia has a quite different meaning from LRT in Singapore. Because I also get this comment, LRT only, LRT very small only. How can the LRT support the people, right? And that's because most people in Singapore, when we think about LRT, we keep thinking about the Sengkang or the Punggol LRT or the Bukit Panjang LRT, which is very small, right? If you see the Singapore LRT, it's a very small thing. But LRT in Malaysia is a very different meaning. Right? LRT in Malaysia is like this photo here. This is from the Kelana Jaya Line LRT in KL. As you can see, the LRT in KL is much bigger than LRT in Singapore. It's somewhere in between an MRT and an LRT. That means it's like a MRT design but a bit smaller. The cabins are smaller, but they are long and normally have like two train, four train kind of scenario. So LRT in Malaysia is quite big compared to the LRT in Singapore. And this LRT can actually accommodate definitely a lot more passengers compared to the Singapore LRT. So I'm quite sure this is the LRT they are referring in mind. Just to clarify this question. Next thing I want to talk about are the three lines. Now, actually, we know from government studies, Johor government studies in the past, actually, these are the three lines that you can see over here. The Skudai line, the Tebrau line, and the Iskandar Putri line. You will notice that there is one station called the Bukit Chaga station, right? This Bukit Chaga is the same Bukit Chaga where the MRT to Singapore will be. So if we say Bukit Chaga in JB, which is today opposite City Square, this is also the same Bukit Chaga that they are referring to over here. So this is actually going to be like so-called central, right, JB Central or ground zero, right, of this LRT track. So in a way, Bukit Chaga is like station 000 or 001. And you can see that although it's colored orange over here, actually, like I said, Bukit Chaga is meant to be station 000 or 001 because the connection to Singapore through the MRT, RTS is actually the first major traffic flow in the first place. Okay, so now they have three lines here, and the Johor government basically is saying they're going to build one first and the other two later, right? So which three of these three do you think will get built first, right? And I think it's a quite interesting question, but actually based on past discussion or understanding that I had from the Singapore from Johor government, it is very likely, or at least in my opinion, that the Iskandar Putri line will be built first, right? Which is the purple color line over here. So basically it stretches from Bukit Chaga. I'm not sure whether you see this dotted line over here is actually passed by Danga Bay. So it's dotted. I'm not exactly sure why it's dotted. I mean, to bypass Danga Bay is a little bit of a strange thing, right? I mean, I prefer that they don't bypass Dangabe. But the alternative is that they go up through the red line here, right, the Skudai line, cut through Lakin, Tun Fatimah, Tamatase, and then only go towards Iskandar Putri, right? But basically, Iskandar Putri line will cover areas like Medini Putri Harbour, which I think a lot of people are interested in, because that basically means that there'll be an LRT from the RTS MRT to Singapore in the future, all the way west to Medini and of course to nearer to Putri Harbour as well. So you can see Horizon Hills is also, there's one station just in front of Horizon Hills, or one station Bukit Indah, and one station at Medini. This station will very likely be in front of Legoland. If I show you an alternative map, you can see it over here, right? You can see the purple line. Actually, this is generally, the Medini station is generally in front of Legoland. The Horizon Hill station is actually just outside the south exit, if you know where Horizon Hills is. So in my opinion, this line will be the one that very likely the Johor government will request to build first for a couple of reasons. Number one is because we know the special economic zone is coming up with Singapore. And we know that this special economic zone very likely will also be very west driven. Iskandar Putri probably include parts of Forest City and most of Medini and other parts of Iskandar Putri will play a very big role in this. So it is likely that the LRT will go west first. And the other thing about going west is also because government tends to be most of the federal government initiatives for Johor in the past have been very west driven, like Legoland, the Gleneagles hospitals, all the special economic zones have traditionally been very west. That is the area that the government trying to grow. It's also easier for the government to get land if they go west, because already a lot of the land here is already identified and easier to build the LRT. So in my opinion, the Iskandar Putri line is the first line to get built, followed by the Skudai, then the Tebrau line. So Tebrau, actually the red color line goes all the way north towards Skudai, right? Past Tampoy into Skudai and UTM. Actually, this is the line that will very likely connect to the Senai airport as well. So beyond UTM, basically northwards, you will get into Senai airport. So this will probably be the second line, and the third line will be the orange one all the way east, where goes all the way past Majidi into Austin, the Brow City. I think this is the end goal, right? Where most people, of at least from Singapore, you're familiar with Mount Austin, Tebrau City. This is where Aeon Tebrau is. This is the area that you want the LRT to connect to. So generally speaking, this is the MRT map. So the LRT map for Johor in a nutshell, right? If you want to know what the three lines are, if this is the first time you've seen this topic, right? Very likely the LRT lines will be based along very similar as per what you see over here. Next question you ask is, how likely is this LRT line to be built? Because and you have very good reason to be skeptical, because I think Malaysia has had a patchy infrastructure record in the past few years, especially due to our political issues in the past 5 years or so. So I mean, as a Singaporean, or if you're a Singaporean, I'm sure you have every right to feel, sure, bo, will they do or don't do? Yeah, you have every right to feel that. I think is not wrong. I think there are several good news to believe that this may happen, or at least strong reason that it may happen. Number one is, of course, next year I think the Johor Sultan becomes the Agong for Malaysia for the next 5 years, right? I think, and as for those of you who read about the Johor royalty, you know that they are quite vocal, and the Johor Sultan becoming Agong means there's one more person in KL who will be pushing for this kind of things to happen. So I mean, if you see my video about the Johor Sultan becoming Agong, right, you can go watch that and get some inference from that. So I'm sure the Johor Sultan as Agong will want this to happen, because now that he's based in KL. Number two is, of course, Anwar Ibrahim, as a Prime Minister for Malaysia. He has a very clear 4 years and very politically stable 4 years ahead. So 4 years is a lot of time for this project to get approved, right? Assuming he and the Sultan, Johor Sultan, work well, or at least intend for this project to happen. And I can see now Johor state government is in a stronger state to push for this project. The federal government is required, because this is a large transportation project, will require federal state approvals, like from the Ministry of Transport, for example. So I think this proposal will go up. The third reason, I believe, because like I said, Johor and Malaysia and Singapore are working on the special economic zone, as I mentioned earlier. And this special economic zone will be announced sometime in January next year, some details. And I'm sure if the LRT does get some traction into it, this will also be a big part to convince Singapore, and also to help the whole idea of a special economic zone in Johor with Singapore, right? And last but not least is also next year we're also January also expecting the news about the high speed rail, a bit more details at least. And the high speed rail will again be another big push. For all you know, this Medini line may actually go even further west to connect to the high speed rail. Because yeah, because we don't know for sure this line will exactly ends as it is, but that may happen where the Iskandar Putri line actually go all the way to high speed rail. That's also something that could possibly happen in the years to come. So yeah, these are my reasons. Of course, right now the LRT is still too early to make any useful timeline. If you ask me when will this LRT be built, your guess is as good as mine. I think it's still too early to tell you when this will happen or if it will happen. Right, there's still a small chance that this may not happen. Right, but at least we know where is the Johor government position on this, and they have already submitted such a proposal, or it's in the works. And that it may come in the years to come. So for all of you who are property owners in Johor Bahru or in Iskandar Putri, you keep your fingers crossed and you wait for this to happen. I think it'll be a big positive news for Johor economy overall, and of course for property investors over here. So I hope this video was useful for you if you're interested to learn a bit more about the LRT track, upcoming LRT track in JB. I hope this was useful, and if you do like our content, do like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you feel that any comments you want to add on about what this LRT track can do, or maybe I missed out some information or there was some inaccuracies, feel free to comment in my YouTube channel below, and more than happy to reply you. So thank you very much, and bye bye.